I'm sure it'll take you guys a while to load in. There's a lot of art assets, so. Actually, it didn't take real that long to load. I mean, you're still going, but you really jumped up there.
And then I hang at 95.
Hi.
Hello.
Hi, server is up and ready.
Face is up and ready.
I'm
so
up. I'm up and ready.
I'm stuck at 95.
It's
Forever.
fine. Just let it go. It's fine. What's not loaded for you?
I don't know. It says 37 of 39 items.
Yeah, but can you like look on the table and see what's loaded or not?
Oh, it finished.
Okay. So did I.
I have no idea.
I'm no longer up.
I finished, but I'm still up.
I guess I can start the music. I'll start it when Craig's finished loading. I still wish there was a dark theme for this game. There needs to be a dark theme for TTS.
I finished loading the instant I got in here.
Oh, wait, I need to... There we go. Oh my god. Turn this down a little bit. Not too much, though.
Did you intentionally make the colors our colors?
Yes. I made this. I mean, I didn't literally make this game. I stole the assets from a much better, heavily scripted setup version of this, but I'm one of those people who, if I'm learning a game, I don't want to have to deal with scripting stuff because that can kind of be a little bit confusing. Like, you'll press a button and you're like, oh my god, it's doing something. What is it doing? I don't understand what's going on because I don't know how the game plays. So I like to do a game, if I'm going to play a game for the first time, I like doing it non-scripted and kind of, you know, just going from scratch.
So you intentionally made a Mergrim and rail sandwich with me and one choke as the bread.
Correct. Also, the tentacle beast in front of us.
Proof that Mergrim's bottom.
So, we're all here. Are we all here? Lost Joke, are you here? Did you come back? Lost Joke isn't here.
No, he's dead.
1 second. 1 second, he says, 5 minutes later.
You know I heard you the entire time.
Yeah, I know. I know you did. I know you can hear me. Alright, so here we are. We're in Arkham Horror Card Game. This is a card game. It is not the original Arkham Horror, which also seems like it could be a cool game, but I think I like the card game a little bit better. We are investigating Lovecraftian things via the use of cards. In case you couldn't tell.
How do I get a... Why do I... I'm confused.
What?
Why do I have this thing that you guys have a bag of tokens?
These are all shared. These are all shared things.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, everybody shares everything. We'll get to what the bags are in a moment. So we are going to be playing the first scenario of the core campaign. The campaign as a whole is called Night of the Zealot. The first scenario is called The Gathering. It's kind of like an intro scenario. It's fairly short. It kind of has a little bit of everything to explain all the rules. So in Arkham Horror Card Game, everybody has a hand of cards, up to 8. If you ever have more than 8, you're gonna have to get rid of some and go back down to 8. But anyway, you have an investigator. The investigators we have are over here on the right. Everybody can pick one, and and also the cards. And each investigator kind of has a specialty. And they all have a background. If you want to flip over and read their background, you can for flavor. This game, oh my fucking god!
What the fuck?
This game.
Well, I have to be the purple person.
I have to be the blue person.
Is very dependent on, like, flavor text. Like, when we play cards, when we do everything, read the flavor text, because that's kind of like 70% of this game's, like, appeal is the flavor text.
Alright, sure, I'll be red.
Alright, so, when you take your... Yeah, take the little, picture as well. I guess I'll be green.
Wow, that got loud.
Yeah, I turned it down a little bit. I don't know why it's so loud.
Do I take the starter deck?
Yes, take the entire book for now. Actually, are these...
Can't pick it up.
Never mind, just take everything inside. They're all cards, and it's multiple cards. Take everything. Take everything that's in there. That's in your, thing. Don't necessarily stack them, but okay. It's fine. It doesn't matter. It doesn't really matter. They're all you're gonna get stacked anyway. I separated them out because I was going to explain certain things. But I can do that just with my deck, which I will be doing.
Are they all gonna get mixed together, did you say? Anyway?
Yes, all of your individual ones.
Right.
All of your cards are going to get mixed together.
Okay.
But don't worry about it. I'll use my deck as examples when we get to that part.
My thing is loading forever, so...
Why are there only 5 cards in... Wait, there are more.
Yeah, there's not just 5 cards. There's...
If you draw it into your hand, then it comes out as a bunch of stacks instead of cards.
Don't. It's fine. It's fine to put them together. I just separated them because I was going to explain what the different card types are when we got to that part. Let me, in the meantime, set some of this up.
I want to be able to pick up this knife that's on the board. I want it to be an actual item and not part of the board.
Well, shit.
What? What
My
happened?
person card went on top of the deck and it resized itself.
Your person card needs to be that size.
Or I could just do this.
I mean, I've already fixed it. You didn't need to do that at all. Put it right here. There's a spot for it.
Should I
Spot for your
flip
person
these
card.
over and
you can look through them. You can look through them if you want. You can look through them as I'm explaining the cards if you want, but before we actually start playing, they will be shuffled.
Alright.
You don't gotta separate. It's okay. You don't gotta separate them out. It's okay. They're all going to get like shuffled together anyway before we start playing, so it's okay.
Just stop me.
Anyway, so the game basically is we go to certain locations. In this case, this scenario starts in the study, which is this room right here. Rooms are represented by cards. So this is if anybody wants to see the card where we are going to be at.
How dare you?
Jesus Christ. And then you essentially you do skill checks. You play cards to enhance your skill checks. There are enemies to potentially fight, but combat is generally something that some people are better at than others. For instance, I think I'm decent at combat. I think Lost Joke's character is decent at combat. Craig's character can be decent at combat, but is also decent at investigation. Combat. I think you're kind of shit at combat, but you're really good at investigation and doing other things.
I'm really
running the fuck away from the looks of it.
I'm really good at keeping your glass full.
So
and carrying lots of plates at once.
Playing cards, playing the cards fucking shut the fuck up. I'm trying to explain the game. Playing cards has a cost, or can have a cost. Sometimes cards cost 0, and so you don't have to pay a cost. Generally playing cards costs an action point. We'll discuss that as we go. But look at my deck, and I will explain to you the kinds of cards. So, we have, this one is specifically my character's card, that's why I have it, like, separated out, so this is specifically Skids O'Toole's, special card. You have asset cards. Asset cards, need an action point, to play. Also assets, so the cost is up in the top left. You'll see this costs 2 resources. On the bottom right, you'll see the slot that it takes. So if you look at your player mat, you'll see you have 7 slots, essentially. You have 2 hands, you have this little ally slot, you have a body slot, you have 2 arcane slots, and a necklace slot. Those line up with your assets, and you can, so that kind of limits what you can play, because if you have both your hand slots taken up, you cannot play something that requires a hand slot. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
All I've heard is hand job and slut.
So
is that correct?
The asset slots, you can do things on them. If you look at this one in particular, this flashlight, if I were to play this, I would have to pay 2 resources and put it on my slot. And from then on, during my turn, I can spend an action to use its effect, which is I have to pay one of the supplies that I would put on here, and then I can it affects the investigation. Basically makes the investigation phase easier for me. But
so
that
can
costs
only use
an
this
action.
3 times.
Yes. And it costs an action to use it. It costs an action to set it down in the first place, and then it subsequently costs an action to use it. That is what this little arrow icon is. That means that it will cost an action. So, like here, this one has actually 2 separate options. I can either spend an action to fight, or I can spend an action to discard the knife and get +2. But again, it costs me one supply to play it in the first place. It needs a hand slot, and then from then on,
so
I can do that.
That one you can fight with the knife, or you can throw the knife at someone, is what I'm understanding.
Essentially, yes. I can fight with a knife. I can do this once per turn. This is not used up. Unless it says, like this one has only 3 uses. The flashlight only has 3 uses, so once this is used up, it's gone. With a knife, as long as I do not pick the discard knife thing, it is not used up, but I can only use it once per turn, because once you use it, you would do it like this, and it is exhausted until the next turn.
In real life, throwing a knife is not more effective than stabbing one.
No. Yeah. It's true.
Well, let's just say discard knife. I guess maybe the idea is that you fight even harder and the knife maybe breaks. Doesn't say throw. Anyway, so that is what the little arrow icon means. It means that whatever that is, that costs another action. Here, this is a different icon. This little kind of like lightning bolt icon. This one has no action cost, so you can do this one again. I think it's only once per turn, but it does not cost an action to do. You still, being an asset, it still costs an action to play, to put on your board, but then subsequently doing what it says does not cost an action. Does that make sense? And again, this one costs 2 resources to play, because it's 2 in the upper left there. So
does it mean anything different that the icon under the resources is different than like the icon under the resources here?
No. So this game has classes, kind of. Every character is a different class and can use certain cards and not other cards. So for instance, Skids O'Toole is I don't remember what this class is. I think maybe Seeker, or maybe not. No, I think Wendy might be a Seeker. I don't remember what the classes are.
Service.
I don't remember what the classes are. I know that Lost Jokes is Guardian. I know that that's what that one is called. I can't remember. Oh, this one is a Rogue. Skids O'Toole is a Rogue, and Wendy is a Survivor.
He's a criminal. It says criminal.
Is he a criminal? Oh, he does say criminal. Well, that's kind of like his, that's more his, that's like his subtitle, not his actual class.
He's a rouge.
Because Roland Banks is the Fed. We'll get into the backgrounds too. We'll read all the character backgrounds too before we start.
Not picking up my card. Somebody keeps making my card crooked.
So you'll also, well, I mean, we might as well look at the back of our cards. We won't read the story just yet, but we'll get into that. This game lets you build your own deck if you want to, and each character has their own deck building requirements. So you can see on my character, my deck size is 30. I cannot go above 30 unless otherwise noted. I can use any rogue cards, I can use any guardian cards, and I can use any neutral cards in my deck. But then I also have the requirements of my own card on the lam, my own card, hospital debts, and then I have to take one basic random weakness, which none of us have yet, but we'll get to that. Continuing on, event cards. Event cards also take an action to use. And again, they may or may not have a cost. These say 0. This one says 2. Event cards generally are used like immediately. Like you play them, and then whatever it says on them happens, and then that card is then discarded. Whereas asset cards, what?
My deck is larger than my deck size.
Yeah, I just said 30 unless otherwise stated.
Yeah, but my deck is larger than
Why don't you read
this?
Yeah,
Merg,
actually
the deck
read.
building requirement, not Merg. Craig.
Deck building requirements do not count toward deck size. You should have 2 cards plus 1 basic weakness, so your deck size is actually going to end up being 33 by the end, before we start. Anyway, event cards, like I said, they need an action to play. Some of them have a cost, and when you play them, it pretty much just you do what it says immediately. Whereas versus an asset card, which can be something that you kind of keep around and can use whenever you are able to use them. And then finally, skill cards. Skill cards are played. They do not require an action to play. You play them when you are doing a skill test. Skill tests include investigation tests, or with fighting tests, or evasion tests. Basically, you would play this card. I don't know if they have any costs associated. They might have costs, but anyway, you can actually, the person doing the skill test can play as many cards, as many skill cards as they have that are relevant to the test, as long as, they have them in their hand, able to be played. If there is another person in the room, in the same room that the person that is doing the skill test is doing the skill test, they can also contribute 1 card. 1 card each person. So the skill test, you can see what kind of skill test they do by the little icon. You'll notice that a lot of these cards actually have a little icon or multiple little icons on the top left under the cost. So like this Hard Knocks one has a little fist, has a little shoe with wings. Same for this one. Vicious Blow has a little fist. This one, the Sneak Attack up here has a little book and a little fist. These are essentially the skills that these cards can augment. So skill cards are used basically solely for this purpose. You essentially declare that you're doing a skill test. You then play any cards that you want to assist the skill test. You can, if you want, play asset and event cards just for the little icons. Basically, every icon gives you +1 to that skill test. But doing so, you don't pay the resource cost, but you don't get to use the effect, the other effect that's on the thing. So, like, if I wanted to play Backstab to help with my fighting skill check, I could get +1 fighting. I do not have to pay 3, but I also don't get this fight thing. This is different. I basically only be getting essentially +1, and then when that skill test is done, this card is discarded, and that's it for that card.
I believe it's called fightiness.
Does that make sense so far?
I guess so.
How
So
do you
essentially,
know what level a card is?
levels don't really matter right now. Essentially, starting decks only. If you're going to start a campaign and you're going to actually play through the campaign, you always start with level 0 cards. Level is so under the cost. You'll see these little pips that are not filled in. That is the level. If 1 is filled in, it would be level 1. If 2 were filled in, it would be level 2. Etc. The level generally... so after a scenario, after we're done with the scenario, we might have some XP to divide up. Then you use that XP to purchase a card. And it's basically a number of levels is how much that card costs. But that is definitely something that we could get into much later. Finally, last but not least, we have the weakness cards. Some of which are going to be in your deck, some of which are going to be in the encounter deck that we will have to deal with. Weakness cards, when you draw it from your deck or from the encounter deck, you basically have to deal with it immediately. Even if it's not your turn. Basically, one of the actions you can take, for instance, is that you can draw a card, and if you were to draw a weakness card, you have to deal with it immediately. It doesn't count as an action. I mean, the action was used that you draw a card, but you have to do whatever the hell it says. And then also at the end of the round, everybody draws a card, and if you draw a weakness card, you have to deal with it immediately. And they're generally not good. Some of them are worse than others. Every character has their own personal weakness. In my case, Schizotool's personal weakness is he has hospital debts. And like I said, there's you know, there might be weaknesses in the encounter deck, and of course, before we start, everybody is going to draw one generic weakness from the generic weaknesses and add them to their deck. So that's 2 weaknesses in your deck. So be careful of that.
Should we shuffle that and do it now?
Yeah, go ahead and shuffle that if you want.
I don't know if I'm shuffling it.
Here, I'll do it.
Because it doesn't seem to be
It's because it's not
doing
locked.
anything.
Hospital
Oh.
debts are treachery.
Yeah, there are different kinds of weaknesses. Like, this is a treachery weakness. There's, like... I don't really remember what other kind of
Treason,
weaknesses
that.
are. So those are all the cards. So yeah, go ahead and pull one of the weaknesses. It's from this bloody book over here. I've already shuffled them, so just pull one. You can look at it if you want. It, you know, because we're going to be shuffling everything anyway.
You know my weaknesses.
Pretty people.
Sand.
It's coarse. It's rough. It gets everywhere.
Gets everywhere.
I can't move these cards.
No, for some reason they got locked. There you go. Try now. God, I can hear my own music on your microphone.
Yeah, sorry.
So that's it. That's the kind of basics of the cards. So now you can just put everything together and give
Should
them
we look at the weakness
big
we
old
drew?
shuffle. Yeah, you can if you want. You can look at any of your cards right now before you shuffle them. I mean, you can look at them at any time. It's just you need to shuffle them.
More treason.
So, okay, for instance, this treachery is psychosis. So when I pull this from my deck, at any point, whenever that is, I need to put this in my threat area. So that's like right here on my playmat. Then I need to take basically this just is there, and it would cost me 2 actions to discard this. So I could discard it on my turn, but it would cost me 2 of my 3 actions to do so. And so this effect is basically if I were to take 1 or more horror, which is a kind of damage, then I would also take 1 damage. So horror and damage on your character card. Horror is the brain. Damage is the heart. And so my character has 6 horror and 8 damage. That basically just means that that's the limit that I can take of either one. So try not to get a lot of horror or damage. Also, you will notice all of your characters have 2 special abilities. One is on top, one is on bottom. So for mine, during my turn, if I spend two resources, I can take an additional action. So basically, I spend my resources and I can do an extra thing. Last joke. After you defeat an enemy, so this can be used anytime after you defeat an enemy, you can discover one clue. Clues are how we progress the game, so that's good. Rill, your normal action is whenever you reveal a chaos token, which is basically every time that you do a skill test, choose and discard one card from your hand, and then cancel that chaos token and return it to the bag. So you basically trade cards in your hand for a potentially better result, although you might get a worse result. Who knows?
Okay.
And then
I have the highest horror score.
Craig, your thing is after one or more horror is placed on you, you can deal one damage to any enemy at your location, which is actually pretty good. So basically, whenever you take a horror, you can damage something else that's at your same place. So under that,
one or more horrors are placed on me.
Under that, you have the Elder Sign effect. The Elder Sign effect takes place whenever you are doing a thing. Oh, that's not good. Whenever you're doing a chaos token thing, and you get... Of course, I'm not gonna fucking get one. There we go. Whenever you get... oh, shit. This. From the chaos token bag, when you're doing a skill test, whenever you get this specific token, you are able to do this effect that has the Elder Sign effect on your character sheet. So in case of Agnes Baker, she gets +1 to that skill test for every horror that she has suffered so far.
I could keep making the jokes, but...
We shuffled the bags.
The bags actually get shuffled every time they are used.
Okay.
In other words, here, I'll demonstrate. I'm not going to put this in because I want to explain this. So this 0 +1.
All right.
-1. And this, so when you're doing a skill test, when you declare that you're doing a skill test, you commit any cards that you want to commit to the skill test. You do that first. Then, once you're done, and once everybody else, like if anybody else wants to help you with that, they have to be in your same location, and they can commit at most one card to your skill test. Then,
so the person who's being tested can use as many cards as they want, but
yes,
other people can only use one.
That is correct. Other people can only use one, and also you do have to be in the same location, so you have to be in the same room as the person who is doing the test. Then you draw from the chaos bag just one token, unless otherwise stated. And then that is added to your modifier. So in this case, this would be a bad one. It would be -2 to whatever my total is. And then basically, if you meet or exceed the number required, then you win. If you don't, you don't win. Sometimes
How do you know
things
what the
can happen.
number required is?
It is a combination. So, here, let's use this. This is the first room. Let's use this study. Don't read anything else, because we'll keep it a surprise. But let me show this to you. So, the investigation for this is 2. So that means if you want to investigate this and get a clue, and again, clues are how we progress, so you do want to get them. You need to make an investigation check, or investigation test, which is an action that you can take. And you would need to meet or exceed 2 in order to succeed. Now, this goes against... on Agnes Baker's sheet, she has 2 investigation skill. Which seems like she automatically wins, right? But then if she takes the chaos token and she gets -2, well, now she has 0. So that's why you would want to use cards and other things to try to modify that.
Okay.
So yeah, everybody has their own basic stats. So Agnes, her willpower is 5, her investigation is 2, her fight is 2, and her evasion is 3. Evasion can be very important. We'll talk about evasion in a minute. Evasion can be more important than fighting. So fighting is essentially, you look at if there is something to fight, you look at their fighting score, and it's essentially your fighting score versus theirs. And of course, like any tests, you can modify it with cards, etc. So this is a special token. If you pull this from the bag as your chaos token, it is an automatic fail. It does not matter how many mods you have. Doesn't matter how many cards you've played. It is a fail. You lose, sir. Good day. Any cards that you committed to this are discarded as usual because the skill test is over, and you just simply fail. There are other symbols that can mean specific things, and that differs depending on what scenario that we're playing, and those are up here on this card. They might be
It's because
specific thing.
you get attacked by those tentacles.
Could be. Could be.
That's why you fail.
So evading. Evading is very important. Evading, when there is a thing that is going to attack you, it will essentially come at you, bro. So pretend this study is a monster or a cultist. It is revealed, and Rill is in the room. It goes into Rill's threat thing. It is now engaged with Rill. If Rill does anything... If Rill does anything other than fighting or evading, or I think some things you can try to talk to, she will get attacked. She will get, it's like an attack of opportunity if she does anything other than trying to fight or evade it. If she tries to move to another room, number one will get damaged, and number two, the monster will actually move with her.
Okay.
So evading...
So the only actions you can take while married are fighting and evading. That makes sense.
Essentially. Fighting, obviously, like I said, you just pit your fighting skill against the monsters. The monsters will have a fighting skill. If you meet or exceed that fighting skill, you do 1 damage to that monster. And you have to obviously do as much damage as you can. However, if you cannot kill the monster outright, it might be better to evade it. Essentially, if you're alone and nobody else is there to also attack the monster, and you cannot just kill the monster, it might be better to simply evade. Evading is you pit your evade skill against the monster's evade skill. And if you succeed, 2 things happen. Number 1, the monster is no longer attacking you. Number 2, the monster is exhausted, which means it's no longer attacking anybody for that round. Which is really good.
Little guys all tuckered out.
It does mean that you can move. You can now run away if you want. You can do other things in the room if you want, as long as you have, action points. Somebody else can attempt to engage the monster, I think. And try to kill it, or you can just leave. So that's really good. Like I said, like if you're alone and you don't think that you can kill the monster in one turn, then it might be best to evade and try to avoid it if you can. All right, so let's see what else. Everybody starts with 5 resources. Go ahead and grab 5 of these. You can also, they have states, so you can make them just 5, but I like having just individual ones. At the end of every turn, you get 1 resource and 1 card. I'm sorry, at the end of every round, I should say, you will get 1 resource and 1 card, so don't worry about spending them. Some people can, sometimes cards could get you more resources, sometimes you can get other resources using your little special thing. So that's, you'll always be getting more as we play. And then turn order. Oddly enough, we can go in any order we want for most things. We do need to pick a lead investigator. Lead investigator's job is essentially to do tiebreaker kind of things. Like for some monsters or things can will follow specific people or hunt specific kinds of people, for instance, and if there's more than one direction that they could potentially go, the lead investigator would decide which direction that they would go. Things of that nature. So, you know, I could be it if you want. I don't really care.
I don't trust you. You're a criminal.
I am a criminal.
We should have the Fed be the lead investigator.
You know what? Lost Joke, if you want to be the lead investigator, that is perfectly fine. All right. Lost Joke, put your weakness into your deck and shuffle the shit out of it. Also, everybody, put your little mini card up near the study, because that is where we are all starting.
For a second, I misread my name. It's Wednesday Adams, and I was amused.
Wednesday Adams.
Wendy is short for Wednesday.
I mean, yeah, her name is Wendy Adams. That cannot be a coincidence. Okay.
It's not Wendy Oldbag.
I actually need to AFK for just 1 second, and then we will start the game. Is that okay?
Can I also AFK and go grab a drink?
You go right ahead.
All right. Yeah. Fuck you, Craig. Bye.
Permission denied.
Okay, I'm back.
The government doesn't provide resources to...
The government takes resources.
Needs them, though.
All right. Let's start reading the flavor text, because, like I said, that is, like, half of this game. So, Knight of the Zealot. No, let's read everybody's character text. Let's start with Craig.
Oh.
Agnes Baker. You want to read it? Or do you want me to read it?
Alright. Agnes Baker may be just an unassuming waitress in this life, but in a previous life, in a time and age undreamed of in the modern world, she had been a powerful witch. It began when she found a strange artifact, a key of some kind, in a dusty collection of family belongings in her attic. When she touched it, the memories came flooding back along with one word, Hyperborea. The more she delved into the visions and memories of her former life, the stronger her powers grew, and the more frightened she became.
So she's from Conan Land.
And the more horrors she collected.
Rill, would you like to read yours?
All right. Mama used to let Wendy play with her necklace when she was small. Mama would tell stories, and Wendy would spin the necklace and watch as it glittered. Then word came that her father had been lost at sea, and Mama started acting strange, drawing unusual symbols in chalk all over the house. They took Mama to the asylum, and Wendy went to the orphanage. Before they took her away, Mama gave her the necklace to protect her. Wendy stayed in the orphanage for several years before running away, deciding that she could take better care of herself on her own.
Skids hadn't planned on a life of crime. Sometimes doing the right thing means getting your hands dirty. The cops didn't care that Skids needed the money for his mother's operation. His mother died of her illness during the second year of his sentence. His cellmate, Brad Hollins, told him there were worse fates than death. He ranted and raved in a quiet voice every evening about the old ones, and told Skids about bizarre adventures he'd had while dreaming. Skids didn't give it much thought until the night he woke to the sight of his cellmate bursting into flames. When Skids was finally released, he turned to Arkham, looking for answers. Lost Joke?
Roland had always taken comfort in procedure and rules. As an agent in the Bureau, he was relieved to have guidelines to follow in any given situation. But lately, his federal agent's handbook had been entirely unhelpful given the cases he'd been assigned. Try as he might, Roland could find no mention of what to do when confronted with strange creatures, gates through time and space, or magic spells. If he hadn't seen it with his own eyes, he'd never believed it. And there's no way his superiors would understand. Roland knew he would have to handle this one himself.
Alright.
Plot twist. All these characters are actually related in some way, like...
They could be.
Agnes Baker is Wendy Adams' mama.
I don't know, she doesn't look old enough to be Wendy Adams' mama.
No, all of their mothers were named Martha.
You're from Conan Land.
Martha.
I'm
what did you say?
Secretly half...
What?
Craig is from Conan Land.
Yep.
I am secretly half ghoul.
Okay.
You were in a cell with, that guy from the Dreamlands books.
Okay.
And he's just fucking Mulder. I don't know.
No, I'm not
Wendy
Mulder,
Wendy is
Follow-
his sister.
doesn't.
Wendy is secretly his sister that got kidnapped by aliens years ago.
Yes, exactly.
That's implying Mulder actually followed the agent's handbook.
All right, fine. You're Scully.
Since I'm from Hyperborea,
Yeah.
and you guys are in the same world as me, it means we're all Conan exiles.
We're all Conan now.
But if you were exiled from Conan Exiles, what does that make you?
Exhilarated.
I wasn't exiled from there. We're all in the exiled lands.
The Ghoul's Hunger. Friday, September 18th, 1925, Arkham, Massachusetts. It is the end of a long and abnormally hot summer. The first hints of autumn beckon, but a heavy heat persists, relentless. A silent, unspoken anger grips the town. Tempers are short, and in the last week alone there have been numerous reports of townspeople coming to heated, violent blows with one another over simple misunderstandings. And now a call from James Hankerson. He claims to have found a dismembered body in his barn. Blaming the weather would be too easy. There is something wrong with this town, and not a whole lot of the old soothsayer can do to stop the slide. My auguries, whoever this is, my auguries indicate a small group of investigators will soon take note of these strange happenings and set forth to make things right. I'll be watching their progress, but I won't be holding my breath.
I'm not sure it's correct that blaming the weather for a dismembered body in your barn would be easy.
So here we are. We are in the lead investigator's study. So we're in Roland Banks' study. Roland, I'm going to refer to you as Roland from now on. Get full into roleplay.
How do you afford a nice place with a study like this on a federal agent's salary? Are you crooked?
Arkham is suffering from a major economic crisis like Detroit, so it's pretty easy to get a house there now.
Also, this house is probably like super haunted, so it's extra discounted.
You've been investigating the strange events occurring in Arkham for several days now. Your desk is covered in newspaper articles, police reports, and witness accounts. So we're here now. We're all here. We're all gathered in this Fed's study for whatever reason.
Now, I
Roland?
suppose you're wondering why I've gathered you all here today.
Yes, why?
Yes, why did you gather an urchin and a ex-con and a waitress in your study?
Well,
is it some kind of weird sex thing?
We all have, I mean, we're all having, like, weird experiences. Maybe we found each other, and are now trying to explain those weird experiences together. The door to your study has vanished. Also, here's the clues. So it's 2 per.
I knew this was a weird sex thing.
So there's going to be 8.
You never should have come here.
Might as well just... Never should have come here.
You do.
There we go. So basically
they don't
these
really
are
stack, do they?
every location that you can investigate is going to have clues. The number of clues is indicated right here on the right. It is 2, and then this little icon next to it means per investigator. Thus, there should be 8 clues here. So now that we've discovered this, now we go into this act deck and this agenda deck. So let me do some more explaining. The agenda deck is how the evil forces progress. Every turn, the agenda deck gets 1 doom icon on it at the end of, or I'm sorry, at the end of every round. Other things can also add doom to the agenda deck. When there's enough doom to match this number, this 3, the agenda deck is progressed. As you can see, there are 3 cards, but each card has multiple sides, or each card has 2 sides. Same with us. So the act deck is how we progress, and it's similar. So when we get clues, it takes this many clues to progress. Again, that little icon means it's per investigator. Thus, it is 8 clues to progress. So we get the clues from the card, from the locations, and then we spend those clues in order to progress. So this is what's going on right now. What's going on? It is late at night. You are holed up in your study, researching the bloody disappearances that have been taking place in the region. A few hours into your research, you hear the sound of strange chanting coming from your parlor down the hall. At the same time, you hear dirt churning, as if something were digging beneath the floor. Then, we turn this over. The door to your study has vanished. As you leap to investigate, the door to your study vanishes before your eyes, leaving you behind only a solid wall. You're trapped inside your study until you can find another way out. So this is where we're at right now.